Hello, Leapers. It's Chris, and today I'm joined by Matt and Albie, and we are absolutely thrilled to be bringing you an interview with most of the main cast of Quantum Leap. Joining us today is Raymond Lee, Nanrisa Lee, and Caitlin Bassett. Welcome back to the Quantum Leap podcast, Ray, Nanrisa, Caitlin. It's so great to have you back on.
Yay, happy to be back.
Thank you. Hi.
Totally.
Hi, friends.
Here to celebrate the end of a successful season. Congratulations, we made it. It's 118 is airing tomorrow night as we're recording, and you guys are already in the thick of filming season 2. This is a great time to be a leaper.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can't wait to try to get spoilers out of you. Fingers crossed. Maybe not. But
I'll tell you right now.
Before we go to season 2,
is all about just Ray's. We've killed Ray. Caitlin's the leaper, and I am now the hologram. So it's kind of like Cagney and Lacey dynamic now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But don't tell
Like
anybody.
it.
I'd watch that.
Murdering.
Yeah.
It's just
repeatedly. And then Martin is now the new leaper. I spoiled it.
Well, Martin,
You
you
guys
have
know.
to
Fans will never see it coming.
Yeah.
So Ray, you're probably getting a lot more sleep now, so that's good. But
Yes.
yeah. But getting back to season 1, so I mean, when we first spoke to you guys, it was so freaky because Caitlin, especially, I think we spoke to you probably weeks before the season even premiered. And there was not a lot that you guys could say about your characters, about the season arc, about anything. So we're here on the other end of it, and so much has come to pass. So maybe we can start with Ray. We'd just like to talk about sort of the character arcs for the season. Was it what you had anticipated, and what were like the highlights for you this season when you were learning how to do this new quantum leap and learning to inhabit these characters? I know that's a very broad question, but I know you guys like to talk. So,
Well, I mean, I learned so much, not only about the show, about my character, about the relationships in the show, but I think what was really fun for me to track in particular was how Ben pieces together his memory again, and how that ends up affecting him and his relationship with Addison and his relationship to the world, and exploring all the different themes that our show had to explore. And I mean, it's to chart that journey was really fun, because I've never played somebody with Swiss cheese memory, or and then I knew that the journey would be eventually to piece back almost all of his memory. So that was really exciting. And how that just affect, and eventually I knew that Ben would find his way back into headquarters somehow, because, we have to bookend this. And it wasn't peppered in much throughout the course of the season. So that was also really exciting to remember what we did in that first scene, and then to try to replicate that at the very end, and to somehow find the nuances within that too. So, I mean, I learned so many things, but I think the memory was a really fun part of it as an actor tracking that journey.
how about you, Nanrisa?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Jen, I think the biggest arc for her in the season was really sort of just where she sort of found her place within the team. I think because she has a different background. It's just she didn't have the same lives that her teammates had before she came into the program. I think there was always a little piece of her that maybe felt like she maybe wasn't quite the good guy that everybody else is. And I think over the course of that season, we find that. yeah, I think there was also just emotional growth for her in terms of letting herself be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had noticed that because we went from Jen being somewhat of a stalwart and basically Magic's right hand to the end of the series, or the end of this season anyway. And we have that wonderful moment where Jen becomes the hologram again, and she confronts Ben as he's trying to complete the mission. But you have that breakdown, and it was such an effective scene. And I don't think we could have imagined Jen doing that in the first few episodes. It just wasn't who she was. So the evolution of the character really came through there.
I don't think Jen could have imagined Jen doing that in the first episode. She was too cool for that.
Well, I mean, Caitlin, you have probably the coolest role of all because you get to go into both worlds. I mean, you're always on the leaps with Ben, and you're always back at the control room with the rest of the team. So I feel like you have double duty more than any characters, because you have to thread the needle between both timelines. And if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of my favorite parts of my role in the show, is that I get to live in both worlds. And I think it's really cool on Addison's journey, as you know, earlier on in the series, she's just so desperate. She's just like, my job is to get him back. That's what we're here to do. But then as that becomes more complicated and more things are revealed, she has to lean more on her team and her family. And I think that's really where the show started to find the heart of HQ, is when you saw the family of HQ come together. And what I'm so excited about in this finale is you finally get to see the family intact, right? Like what it would have been like had Ben not made the decisions Ben made. And I think it was just a brilliant utilization of, I mean, the cast when it comes to who they are now and who they were then. And you finally got to see like who we were, where we were going, and what this has now done to us, but we're still this family. So it's just, it's one of the most exciting things, I think, that this season delivered. And I'm really excited to expand on that in season 2.
Chris asked about questions about the kind of the character arcs throughout the season. I'm really interested as well in your development, I guess, and your experiences as people over the last year. The 5 of you and the 3 of you particularly, obviously, come together not knowing each other, not having worked together before, I don't think, and have all gone from creating this show that had been dead for 30 years, sort of bringing it back to life and making it a household name again. So can you tell me about what that was like for all of you, getting to know each other and building those personal relationships? And that's to all of you at once.
Oh, what a question.
Yeah. I mean,
fearless leader would
I mean, I think it's impossible to sum up because we're still in that journey. And it's hard to, it's not one of those things yet where I've unpacked really, because, we're still on it. And, when we go on a proper hiatus, I will have some time to reflect on what all that means. But, I feel very fortunate to be with the group that I'm with, because it felt right from day one when we were all in Vancouver and we had a table read and we were rehearsing in the hotel room conference. And then I think we were just giddy with excitement on the prospect of how exciting this all could be, seeing how talented each other were, and just how exciting the excitement was palpable. And, once we started doing it, it's impossible to know how it's all going to land, but it somehow it all felt right. And, I was there, Caitlin's very first scene ever as a professional actor, and to see her journey, it's just incredible. Every single one of us, we've had such, many things have happened in our lives and throughout the course of this year, and I think I'm not I'm not with the whole gang all the time, but we do have outings every now and again, and we get to meet like this in the virtual space. And every day I fall more in love with each individual. Getting to do a scene with Ernie, I'm like, wow, I didn't know what this was like. And getting to be with Nanrisa and the Leaps, I'm like, I didn't know this is what we were. And it's just, I think we set the table for a really exciting journey ahead, because we can only go deeper, and we're only scratching the surface. But yeah, I'm still unpacking. But yeah, we just haven't. It's crazy that we haven't taken the foot off the gas yet.
I think for people who haven't been in this position or never will be, like, being an actor on a TV show, it's insane. It's like the wildest ride, because you get thrown into all of these situations that are kind of big deal situations that you've never been in before. And that has been, we just did WonderCon last weekend, which is the first convention I've ever been to. So for the first convention I've ever been to like have a security detail and like a press rotation and like a whole panel, it's crazy. But I think for me, that's kind of like the fun and flashy aspect of it. Like the by far the best thing has been just the people. I think we've been so fortunate for the cast that we have, for the people that we work with, above and below the line. Everybody is just like a freaking gem of a human. And I think, like Ray said, as time progresses and as we get to spend more and more time together, that really has solidified. I think, unfortunately, with Ray, we don't get to shoot with him as often as we would all like to. At least Caitlin does. Sorry, Caitlin. but headquarter days,
Yeah.
It's like, I almost feel bad for when a new director comes in, because headquarter days, we're all so used to, being around each other, and we get giddy and we're kind of all over each other and whispering in each other's ear, and like, they're like, and action. And we're like, yep, do the thing. But like, really, we just love freaking hanging out together. That's been huge. I think the other thing that's been huge is like, is you spend so much of your time as an actor when you're not working, for me at least, questioning if you can actually do it. And then you find out you freaking can. So that's also been pretty great.
I love Nanrisa so much. You're amazing. That was the best.
Just resident goober.
Caitlin, did you have
Well, Albie was gonna ask a question.
I wanted to ask a question about Judgment Day. Like, one of my favorite parts of the new Quantum Leap and throughout season 1 has been the relationship between Ben and Addison, and specifically the romantic relationship. I love those little moments you two have where it's kind of like the flirting and the restarting the relationship because of Ben loss of the memory and everything. And for people like me that love to follow that story, Judgment Day was amazing to get to see the first date all over again. And can you talk about filming those scenes and that whole storyline and even the technical aspects of it?
Yeah, the technical, especially because we had dueling Addisons in a lot of scenes.
Did I had a wonderful double named who was a phenomenal. She was a great actress and very weirdly similar to me, which was, I guess, good for a double. And yeah, so we filmed it with a third actor. It was awesome.
What's it been like to play that romantic relationship with each other?
It felt like at moments that we were doing a completely different show, because all of a sudden we were shooting a rom-com. And we have moments of that throughout the season in each episode where we find a connection and there is a spark of a window into like what was and what is and what could be. But it's the first time that we see them as two people falling in love and going from moment to moment. And it was a lot of fun, like I know, like, and just to see also Caitlin looking completely different, you know, with your hair hanging down, with wearing a pink dress, you know, like we just haven't seen this Addison yet. And, you know, and I think we had the whole room in stitches at some point because we were just kind of going off and doing, you know, improvising lines, and you know, it just felt like we were in a different show for a little while, in the best way. And it's great also too, like that we can get to do that with this show. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was maybe my favorite thing we've shot. Maybe not the whole, like, but certainly my favorite Ben and Addison moment of the season, I think.
Yeah.
And to Ray's point, it did feel like we were on a different show. And what was cool is I got to act in both sides. So when we were in 2018 Addison, it felt like a completely different show. Like I was like this, and it was a completely different relationship. And it was really cool to be able to anchor on to a different version of a person talking to a different version of a person than I had been talking to for a whole year of work. And then when I flipped to the hologram side, what was cool was not only to watch that happen, because I asked for it. I wanted to do the earlier version first. I wanted to do the past me first, because I knew that hologram me had to react to what happened between, you know, Ben and past Addison. And if I couldn't plan those reactions, you know, you can't plan it. You got to react to what happened. So I had to do what happened and then do the reaction to that. But that was really cool because that felt like I was half in our show. Like, and there were moments of like, oh, look at this sweet little, hey, get it together. And it was so fun. And I have to give it to Ray. Like, Ray had me dying because it was honestly hard to get through that scene because he was hilarious. And he's just sitting there like just handling both things as an actor beautifully, as a person horribly. And it was just some spectacular work on his end. And it was, yeah, I mean, not many actors get to play in two timelines in the same scene. So I was like, are you kidding me? This is the coolest thing. Yeah. Let me talk with my hands.
Well, I was curious about that aspect of it from Ray's side as well, because Ray, you often are reacting to Addison, you know, like sotto voce, right? And then there's someone else in front of you, but Addison's in front of you and Addison's over here. And I know that it's not sort of like the same dynamic where there is an actual actor doing the lines that you're reacting to. So you're reacting to Addison in two different ways in two different time periods. So it's just fascinating to me how seamless it all looked, because you're this and this and this and this. And obviously you're in two different takes there. So the way they edited it together was amazing. But was that a specific challenge to try to get that as integrated as possible?
Yeah, I mean, definitely had to do a little more homework than going into other scenes that are more straightforward. But essentially, past Addison also doesn't know that I have a hologram with me. So I have to still pretend like this is a person that I can't reveal anything to. So essentially, that rule doesn't change. The hardest adjustment for me, because the actress doubling Caitlin, she was more soft-spoken than Caitlin. Everyone is more soft-spoken than Caitlin. And so it was kind of jarring. It was jarring to be acting with past Addison and then have Addison's double. And I'm like, okay, that's what and then we would switch around, and then now I'd be reacting to, and the volume was just punched up and the intensity was coming. So I'm like, I'm glad we got to just hop back and forth in that, because had we done everything one direction with me just past Addison, I would have lost that, and I should have known better. But it was just bop, bop, bop. It was like, yeah. Essentially, I didn't have to do much acting on that end, because it was just, Caitlin brings, and she was coming off of I think you had like a good like time to like you had like 4 days or 3 days off or something, right? Like we're coming back from the weekend. I think we were shooting on a Monday. Yeah, you were like, "Woo! I got so much. I am ready." I was like, "Oh my god!" I have to deal with Caitlin with that energy, past Addison with her energy, current Addison with this energy, and I'm just like, whatever. If there was any sort of me being just thrown for a loop, that was not acting. I was really discombobulated. Yeah, a lot of fun that day.
I have to ask about the kissing scene. That final kiss, even though it's still 2018 Addison, but you still get the kiss and make contact. And it's been like we've been hoping for that all season because the hologram, of course, can't touch you, and you're always trying to touch. So what was that kiss like, and everybody cheering in the background, and Ian saying "I like it" and all that stuff?
Which was improvised.
Really? Wow.
Oh,
You're kidding.
Mason, awesome.
It was cathartic in a way. Sorry. I don't know if you could hear her. She's screaming, my daughter. Yeah, it was, I was very nervous, as Ben, as Ray, it just, this has to happen. We've been wanting it to happen, and how are we going to make this happen? And it wasn't really planned out, really. We didn't really block it much. We just set the marks and they said go, and, we just went for it. And then it sort of started like evolving too, right? Like we had the files in hand and the files would drop, or like they would get slapped out of the hand, like it just started taking on its own shape. And, what ended up becoming was, at least for me, just a really beautiful moment of a cathartic release, almost an exhale of like, I get to touch you and I get to kiss you, and we get to be in the same space present together. So, yeah, it was lovely. Yeah.
It was interesting for me because I was in past Addison mode, which you have to have. Like I had a theater teacher that one time said he called it selective amnesia, where like before a scene you kind of got to drop a lot of what to be present in like the circumstance. So there was a lot of me that had to drop. Like I was like, this relationship with this Addison and that Ben is still newer. We're coworkers that obviously really like each other. You know what I mean? So I really had to like try and hold on to that reality so that I didn't sell a different thing, or else, it's going to look too comfortable, too like it should be like a bit of a surprise. But but as we finally found it, you can't help but know. And then like Nanrisa and Ernie and Mason are just being ridiculous in the background. So, and
it's our job, like, Caitlin. It's our job.
Fun and cathartic. Yeah. I know. And it just felt like so earned, more than earned after the season. Which was like, and when you have a camera guy spinning around you in a kiss and you're like, this might be baseball. But like it didn't feel like it. It felt earned. It felt lovely. It felt like friends and lovers and a whole year of work. But I will also say, since Ray's been so helpful in these interviews, that morning, speaking of his lovely daughter, who you just heard in the background, the first thing out of Ray's mouth to me is, my daughter sneezed in my mouth last night. That's the first Ray's mouth to me that morning that we're doing.
Like,
I am the bringer of all germs to set.
Here we go.
Yeah.
We didn't get sick.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. In watching that scene, I couldn't help but be reminded of the pilot and the engagement party where we see them touch hands for the last time. And then my mind jumped immediately to Salvation or Bust, where you're sidling up to Ben, so clearly wanting to jump his bones. And it's just like, you don't know it because you're in the season and it's going so gradually. But then once you get to that moment, it's like, oh my God, this has been building for so long. So I mean, I just, was that something that you think also happened organically between you as the season went on? Or is that something that you kind of planned out in your head of, where are we going to be here? Where are we going to be here? Where are we going to be here? I'm just curious to know, like, the process, or, or even if there is a process.
For me, well, truthfully, we didn't know where we were going. I think that requires an amount of foresight and like episodes written that we just weren't. So I think what at least I did was just try and go on the journey step by step. And luckily they wrote those moments in. But so I do think it happened organically. The answer is A. I do think there was an organic growth of who this couple is, who they were, and who they are now. And as I said before, I tried really hard to stay in past Addison. But I mean, the truth is like, you can't help but live the life that we've lived and do the year that we've done, have the relationship that I have. And I think in a cool way, similar to episode 15 SOS, when I was talking to Brandon Routh, who played my father, where the rules seem to be a little, well, he can't hear you, but maybe a little bit he can. And I do think there was a version of like, past Addison can't possibly know what's to come, what this relationship's going to be, because we had to find that out throughout the season as actors and as characters. But there is a little bit of truth of like, maybe she did a little. And so maybe it's a little okay that the weight of that kiss wasn't just the first kiss that they had, which is already a big thing. But it was the first kiss that they had that felt like the biggest kiss that they had. And I hope that came across, and it felt like it did. And it was almost like a little sad after. I remember Ray and I after, when like we just gave each other like a little squeeze, like we got there.
Interesting. I never even considered that wrinkle, but you're right. That's a completely different Addison that didn't go through any of this stuff. So, but it still came across that way on screen. So I guess, as fans, we were looking for it, hoping for it,
good.
And you guys
I hope it did. It shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was what we were hoping for.
Nanrisa, and talking about Judgment Day and that kissing scene and everything happening, that brings up the whole 2018 grunge era Project Quantum Leap headquarters, and you and Mason and that whole quiz team, Aguilera, and that whole situation in Turtle Time. Can you talk a little about that? That was so fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I think we had some ideas that like, what was Jen in 2018 and what was the dynamic like there, and I was really pleased with what we came up with. I think the wardrobe, right? She's a bit younger. She's a bit greener, a little more rough and tumble, and so I had a great time with Genevieve, our costume designer, kind of piecing that together, and with Misa in makeup, figuring all of that fun stuff out. And then when I saw Ian, 2018 Ian, I mean, I almost lost it. So like, half the time, like Chris Grismer, who directed that episode, is a brilliant director, had said that we looked like an 80s like German like pop band or punk band or something. And so we spent half the episode just speaking in like German accents. Mason's German accent is fantastic. If they come back on the show, ask them to do it because they're fantastic at it. Mine is not so much, but I tried. And so I think I was
Please,
really excited.
Go ahead.
It was not, I'm scared to do it here. It was a lot of things about like, oh, we're German. Oh, don't look at us. We are on our way to school. Just things like that. But I think
sultry German.
Yes. Very coy. We spent a lot of time just sort of, I think, goofing off, like, in between takes. And weirdly enough, I think that it actually helped like for the energy of 2018, Ian and Jen.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because everybody had to make these subtle shifts, but you guys were so, I don't want to say over the top, but so blatantly different as characters. Did it make it easier to play a different version of yourself? I especially love the eye makeup.
Yeah, Misa did a great job with that. I think, I don't know that it was easier. We didn't really discuss it very much. It's just something that I think is particularly between Mason and I that we just sort of fell into. I mean, of course, like, you see the dialogue and the interactions and sort of the compositions of scenes, but I think it felt pretty organic, honestly. And then the dynamic between the team is different.
It was so
too,
fun,
right?
I think the first time I saw you and Mason in the new regalia was when I was held up in the cube, and then y'all burst in, right, to like come in, and I remember taking a picture of you. I showed it to you, like just how you looked in rehearsals when you were just barging in, and it was Jen, but it was younger Jen, like you were saying, a little bit more rough around the edges, just a little bit more higher energy. And I was like, whoa, like what is going on? And I rarely take pictures of my scene partner during rehearsals, but I was like, what is happening here? Let me just, I have some great pictures of you just entering the scene. New look, new energy, like tougher vibe, just like all of it was, I mean, I don't know how much like prep you did, but I definitely felt it on this end and being like, whoa, this is wild. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Ray. I honestly, now listening to you talk about it, I think probably this is random and like surface, but I think some of it had to do with the shoes. Because they put me in Jordans, like it was just like versus usually I wear like a 4 or 5 inch heel, and like I can't walk that fast in a 5 inch heel, but in a Jordan I can come screaming in, and so
shoes are everything. Shoes are what informs. They say always like rehearse in the shoes that you're going to be in on the day, right? Like, because just it gives you so much more. It just informs so much about the character. I think so too. I think, and those Jordans were fly. Like they were like a piece. Yeah,
they were dope.
Yeah, so fun.
I would also say that as a leaper, shoes are double important for you, Ray, because you might be in heels one day.
No, totally, and that's the stuff, right? Like, in the I'm trying to remember the title of that episode. Ben Song for the Defense.
Ben Song for the Defense.
That's right. Yeah, and those heels really informed. It wasn't a specific character choice. Those shoes hurt so much that the only way that I can get from here to there is by like trying to like just go as fast as possible. And it's almost like ripping the Band-Aid off with every step. Like if I'm going to go from here to there, I'm just going to run and just scamper and then just go. And then it kind of ended up becoming a character choice, which eventually served for the purposes of that leap, like served me really well to just know where this person lives and in a constant state of tightness because of all the case files and just the stress of being in a courtroom. And like, it's just every step is painful until you like eventually remove the shoes and you're like, here I am now with my my girlfriend. It's just okay, maybe I can relax here. And then back to this. And so shoes have so much of a part in creating a role. So I get it, Nance.
Yeah.
Since we're on Ben's Song for the Defense, I wanted to ask because obviously we've touched on this. As viewers, we are used to seeing all of you on screen, but it is very rare to see the two of you working together, or was until that point. So can you tell me a little bit about what it was like getting to work together properly for the first time and the comic vibe that the two of you had off each other? What was that like discovering?
I wasn't surprised. I think knowing Ray in person and the energy that I get from Ray, and knowing myself, I knew that there was going to be a lot of opportunity for some comedic back and forth, and watching Ray's work. Ray's comedic timing is so good, his physicality is so good, and his physical comedy is so good that I knew that like we would just come in and it would just be like, and I think we had a great time. That episode got broken up a little bit because I actually got COVID. And I don't know if I'm allowed to, I mean, I think I am. It's my body, my choice. I actually got COVID. And so they had to push some stuff around. So I didn't get to have like that sort of cohesive everyday experience with Ray that I had been looking forward to. But just like with old friends, you kind of come back and you just like drop right in. And I think, I suspect the dynamic between Jen and Ben, I think that there's a lot of overlap in that dynamic and the dynamic between Ray and I in real life, I think. So I'm really glad that some of that translated.
Yeah. Like, whenever I'm with Nanrisa, I feel like I've known you for a long time. It's like, I don't know if it's because we're both Lees or what, but like, there's just like a familiarity there that I've always felt with you. And it was really nice because it felt more so than having like, like I'm not that like woo woo, but I believe in like, when sometimes you meet somebody and you get along so well right away, you're like, we might have known each other in a past life. I don't know, like, because this just feels too easy, and in that leap, there was that, it's like, Ben doesn't remember Jen, but somehow, some way, but Addison says like, this is someone you can trust. So I'm like, okay, but there was very little reluctance as Ben to trust Jen, to be like, all right, you're helping me. I put my life in your hands. So let's do this. Help me through this leap. And yeah, it was just so much fun. It's great. A, mixing it up with a different energy. And B, just to get to have that dynamic at play. And it just made me look forward to more of that, and just getting, and it also just helps Ben inform like, oh, these were my friends at Quantum Leap headquarters, as opposed to like, man, this was a really toxic place to work. No wonder he left or something. You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is a place that he probably, and these are all people that he let down essentially, or made them lose faith in him by doing this. And just kind of broke my heart more as Ben being like, well, I love these people so much. And this is another person who I had to leave behind. But yeah, it was a very, very fun episode. I think as far as just it being almost a screwball comedy at times, I think we really nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that aspect of it as well, Ray, when you got to do scenes with Mason in the Friendly Skies episode. The second they came on set, you guys were just, there, like sync, like you remembered them like that. And we always hear that they're best friends, and they always say, oh, I miss my best friend. But when you guys got on screen, the chemistry was, oh my God, they're best friends.
Yeah. Also, another thing that, like, I think to a lot of one another's credit, we're all very intuitive beings, and we know this as a storyline, as a plot point, that they're best friends. So subconsciously, Mason and I, it was always yes-anding each other from the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, Mason, you want to go there? I can meet you there. How about I one up you there? It's like, oh, but that's what best friends do. And impossible to one up Mason, by the way. So, I had my work cut out for me a lot of those days. So you're just working at the height of your intelligence, the height of everything, and instinct. And knowing that we've already built this story and the dynamic, it's and us being intuitive, it all felt right, and Mason has this incredible ability to focus at a moment's notice. And it's something that I cannot do, and it's impossible to try to wrangle Mason. Right, they've got so much energy coming out of every orifice, and so it's like I just have to be as present as possible and just kind of be ready for whatever Mason throws. And it's almost a really incredible thing that Mason has the ability to take you out of your head in that way. Sometimes it's wild to have in a scene where you need just to focus more, but sometimes also too, we're taught in acting to just let go. So it's a great lesson that you're forced into doing, where, okay, I just have to be present with you. I have no choice. And if my words aren't memorized for this scene, then it's going to be what it is. But it allows for you to react very organically to someone like Mason because they have that.
Yeah, that came across in spades on screen. So good job there.
Ray,
Yes.
Ray, I have to ask about the fight scene across time with you and Walter Perez. Can you talk about that? That was an amazing part of the episode. How difficult was that to coordinate and shoot so many different locations? And just, can you talk about that?
Yeah. In fact, when we did our very first fight scene for that episode, we were in the episode at the asylum, and the episode 18 hasn't been given to us yet. So the only thing I had were 2 pages of what that fight was and the dialogue in it, and just this idea that we're going to be fighting through time. So contextually, I'm just like, okay, so we're just filming a fight scene out of sequence with no context really to go off of. But okay, I mean, we're in great hands with Grismer and Margarita, so let's just do this. And it was wild because I just had to take a break from that asylum episode to fight for like half a day. So it ended up becoming a really, really great working relationship with Walter because we got very lucky that not only is he great at what he does, but he also is very good with his body. He has great coordination. He was trained as a boxer at one point. He's a dancer, and this is just the perfect alchemy for anybody you want as a dance partner. And he was very quick to get onto these things because, if you're not working with a stunts person, you just have an actor. It can be very random, their skill set, and you don't know what they could be capable of, because even within the choreography, there's storytelling. And that's sometimes you come across an actor where they can't do both. They could do one, but they can't do the storytelling. So they have to just get in real tight and just get reaction shots. But, with Walter, we got really lucky because he was very good at all of these things. And, has a great presence on screen. He's kind of the person that inscrutable at times, but also very aggressive at times. And just, we had a lot of fun. It felt like an old buddy that we were just playing pretend. I got this great video clip. Somebody was recording the fight scene that was happening above the saloon. And there's this one move where Thomas Vu, my stunt double, he does like a front flip, like he throws me over, and nobody wanted me to do that. I barely knew I could do that, but we were so in the scene that I ended up doing it, and it's caught on video where you see as the flip is happening, Walter goes like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And I do it, and it's obviously like a very pathetic attempt. And it was so slow and like so not cool. And you just see him, he froze for the moment because I wasn't supposed to do it. And I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm going to do it." And you just see him come out of character. He's blatantly laughing at me. And he's like, "Oh shit, we got more fight left." And then so we get back into it and we finish the fight. But we had such a great laugh about it. Like the whole time we had so much fun, and we were giggling because like, I can't believe we get to do this for a living. Like I used to do this when I was 10 years old by myself, like punching the couch and like reacting to people who weren't there. And like now we got to do that. But yeah, we got very lucky with Walter, and I'm just so cool that a fight through time conceptually, it's so wild, and we pulled it off. So I'm very happy with all of that.
I mean, we've had a great conversation over the last hour about all the stuff that's come before. So maybe I could ask, maybe starting with Nanrisa, what are you hoping for from your character for the next season and all the developments around that?
I think I'm hoping to see more evolution of Jen, but also in a way that where she acknowledges her past, I think. And I had this discussion really not with anybody, but I think if I could choose for my character, I would love to see, to show the audience a little bit more about the world in which she came from. And I think that would help to explain why she is the way she is and why she makes the choices that she does. And I would also be curious to explore more of that myself. That and Cagney and Lacey with Addison, if we could do that.
Yeah. Caitlin, how about your hopes for Addison?
Well, I think my hopes for Addison are dependent on what happens in season 2. So you're not going to get me today, Matt.
Worth a try.
Nice.
You see through me.
Well, but what my hopes for the show is that we really lean into this thing that we found in kind of 14 on, but really heavily more 15. 14 on. So from SOS through Nanrisa's leap to from all of these things, because what we really saw was the family. And I think that this show shines because of the cast, and it differentiates itself from the old show because it's an ensemble. It's not just 2 people. And because of just the structure of what this is, there was a lot of that like bifurcation of Ray and Addison, or Ray and Caitlin, Ben and Addison, and then the team. And what I really like is once we start moving the chess pieces together and you really see how the family dynamics work. Like, I want Ray and Ernie to disagree about something. I want to see how all of that works together and how you complete the family regardless of where anybody is. I think that's where this show can have its strength. And I really hope for that in the next season.
Cool. And Ray, we know that you're going to get bludgeoned to death at the start of the next season. But assuming that as a viewer looking in, what are you hoping for?
Well, being trapped to a hospital bed for the first 7 episodes is a really tough way to act. They're going to be feeding me through a tube. I'll be speaking through a speaking. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Good.
I want to echo a lot of what Caitlin said. We are an ensemble, and I feel like when we get an opportunity to deepen all these relationships, it just makes for just overall a whole story, and we get a better picture of everything, and it allows for so many paths to splinter off, and stories and sub stories, and how those sub stories can all come back. And if the first season we relied a lot on mythology and the science of time travel, and we still have the space to serialize those aspects, like why not that be the through lines for the relationships of each of the characters? I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to digging in deeper as we all know our characters better. We know the show better. The writers know our voice. And I think we're really going to fly in season 2. And we're at a really great place, and credit to our writers. They've just crafted such an incredible way to wrap up the first season. And, what once was a little bit just like, oh, a bummer, we don't get a break between these things, is now is kind of a blessing, rolling straight into it, because there's no period of getting back into the groove of things. I think we're just going to roll right into it and carry that energy straight through. And I think, now almost being done with episode 4, we're at a very good place. The show is very strong, stronger than ever before. And I think the viewers are going to love what's going on. But yeah, I just to see more growth there with the team.
That is a terrific thing to hear, because it's fascinating to me that we're 18 episodes into a brand new show and we feel like, okay, that was the origin story, the past this prologue. Now we're really set to go with this new Quantum Leap. And there's only, so much possibility to spring forth from here. So it just bodes so well for the future of the series and where the series could go. And we as fans could not be more thrilled. So Ray, Nanrisa, Caitlin, thank you so much for taking the time to appear with us again here on the Quantum Leap podcast. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the fans. And we can't wait to pick your brains about season 2.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun. Thank you. Yeah. And yeah, we love you guys. Thank you for everything, your involvement with this, our entire journey that you've been with us from the start. We just, in the beginning, it's like, what? There's a group of folks who have been talking about the show even while it wasn't going on. And what is this? And I had my reservations in terms of like, am I going to be met with a lot of just, I don't know, I'm not Scott Bakula, that's all that. And I mean, y'all have just embraced us, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for you guys and your involvement with our journey and all of this that we're all taking together. So yeah, thank you so much for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to second that. It's scary to step into a IP like this that has such a strong love for it, because nobody wants to do a bad job. And, you guys and a couple of the other podcasts, it's a good bellwether of how it's going. And you've been kind and warm and encouraging, and, we watch. It's so thank you for that. And thank you to the fans. Thank you for coming with us and giving us a chance to make your Quantum Leap alive again.